Hey, everybody, welcome to the True Crime Squad. I'm Christy Brower, here with my sister, co host, and partner in all things crime, Katie Weaver. Hey, Katie,
Hello.
how's it going?
It's going good. It is snowing heavily right now, so
It's
that
supposed to snow every day for a week.
I know. So. Uh,
We've had we've had a real lucky winter so far, and I think the
mhm.
luck has run out.
It's coming to a close. We were at Walmart today, and Mars bought a squeaking chicken, like a rubber chicken, for the dogs,
Oh
and
no.
it is concerning. I have headed into the living room several times now to see who was hurt because I'm hearing a god awful noise in there and thinking that one of my little dogs is getting smashed by a big one or under a pig or some crazy thing. And no, it's just that damn toy. I don't know if my nerves can take it. I'm not sure.
Is that the same one that donkey on TikTok loves? Have you seen that donkey?
Similar, this one doesn't bawl for nearly as long. Thank God.
Oh,
But
thank
there's
God.
no way. There's no way. I would. I don't even know. It would be a hospitalization over here. But
That donkey is my most favorite thing ever, but I don't know if
uh-huh.
I'd want that in my house.
Mm-mm. This one is smaller and doesn't like squall for as long, but it's a similar sound. Yeah. Oh,
Yikes. Yeah, that is quite a sound.
not sure what to say about that, except for that the dogs love it. But they're what my our dogs do, especially Nellie, our basset puppy. She hauls her toys outside and hides them, and then later on goes out and finds them and brings them back in. So she
Mhm.
has a bunch of toys we bought at Costco that are hard to chew up because these guys are just toy assassins.
Yeah.
And so she can't chew them up. But two of them are these big fish, and they're like I was going to say breaded. They're not breaded. They are.
Breaded.
They're fabric covered, but they're
Mhm.
like thick, heavy rubber inside. They do squeak too. And she just wanders around the house just rah, 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 rah. But anyway, so she'll come in with these fish that have been outside for who knows how long and they're frozen solid and start throwing them around the living room and it's a scene. But anyway, the chicken, I just don't know. We'll see.
That's pretty great. That is pretty
She
great. Well, one
she's
of
already
my
had it outside a
shoes,
few times, so hopefully
I'll
it'll
bet,
get
one of
lost
one
in the
of my
snowbank.
shoes fell victim to that on New Year's Eve. I went to go home and one of my shoes was missing. And everyone from the Weaver household went, "Oh no, Nellie." And they
And
went and
Mars
they
went,
looked and
yeah.
it's probably outside.
Yep,
Yeah.
Mars went out back, and indeed it was outside. Yep.
It was outside and wet and frozen solid.
Yep.
But
Picture
it's
that
fine
like a big
now.
breaded fish. Yeah.
Yes, a big bread. That's awesome. I love that.
Good Lord.
Oh my goodness. Well, that is
Otherwise,
funny.
just fine.
Yeah, there you go. I am as well just fine. Really enjoying getting back to like daily crafting and working
hmm
on audio projects and video projects and stuff. Like, glad to be back to my normal routine rather than just partying all the time. I get tired, man. My body's
Yeah.
like, we got to be done with the partying for a while. You can't have any more
hmm
wine for like a month. Okay.
Oh.
I'm drinking lemonade. Look at you.
Oh, near.
Well, this is a Mormon Misdeeds episode, so it does make sense that you showed up with wine because we generally need them for these episodes.
This is that Stella Rosa you bought me for Christmas
Oh
in the
yes.
sampler pack. This is the Stella Rosa Black. My God.
Mm.
This is the best red wine I've ever had. Now, bear in mind,
If
I
you
cannot do dry red wine. I can't. It will,
if you like
it
a
gives me
sweet
fits.
Italian wine, Stella
hmm
Rosa is the bomb.com.
And the Stella Rosa
Uh,
Black, damn.
ooh, yeah, that is a lovely, lovely
hmm
red wine.
Yeah,
Yes,
it
it
is.
is. Well, with that, Katie, I'm gonna send the mic right on over to you to talk about Dr. John Forsyth.
Yeah. So this is a case that happened in May, and we hadn't covered it yet. It's occurring in our Mormon misdeed section. It's not necessarily a Mormon misdeed, except for that Dr. John was Mormon, and
Mhm.
his death is incredibly strange and mysterious.
Yes.
So, and I want to tell you about it. I will say that reportedly his ex-wife and 7 children, at least some of them, live here in Idaho. They had divorced, had literally signed divorce papers just a few days before he disappeared. Now, he went missing in Missouri, where he was a doctor. So I'm going to see if I can't just lay out the timeline to you to the best of my ability. I will say there is a copious amount of rumor and questions around Dr. John's death, and you'll see why. So I will do my level best to keep it as factual as possible and try not to get too far off the rails into the mystery, but I might a little bit because it is wild. There's a lot to say and a lot to think about. So this is John.
Mm-hmm.
Again, he was the father of 8, maybe 9. He
Mm.
I believe that what I'm understanding is that he had 7 with his first wife. They were married in, I believe, in Nevada. Let's see. I had that pulled up. Yeah, they were married in 1995 in Nevada and divorced in 2019. And then they remarried the next year and then got divorced again in April 2022.
Oh, okay.
On May 10th, a judge had ordered him to pay her $4,000 in child support a month plus another $15,000 a month in alimony. So
Wow. Okay.
19K a month. So Dr. John was a ER doctor that worked around 80 hours a week, according to his family. He even had an RV parked in the parking lot of the hospital because he didn't go home much. He was there all the time.
Wow.
He also was the co-owner of a cryptocurrency business that he'd started with his brother, that had been mentioned on the Forbes cryptocurrency millionaires list a year or so before. So they seem to have been doing quite well.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some questions about the cryptocurrency business, if it was actually as liquid as it seemed. There's some questions there, but we don't
Mm.
really know, but
Sure.
that's the case. So Dr. John went missing. So remember that the divorce decree was signed on the 10th of May of 2023, and
Mm-hmm.
he disappeared on the 21st around 7 a.m.
Wow. Wow.
So let's start there. So
Oh, I'll pull the banner down so you can see
yeah,
that
thank you.
contact info.
Yeah.
There you go.
So he didn't show up for work, which was really weird. So on the 20th, he finished work around 7 and a.m. and last he was seen was walking towards his RV, was intending to return to his next shift at 7 p.m. But 7 p.m. came and went and he did not show up for work, which was really, really strange. According
Wow.
to people who work with him and family members, he was extremely meticulous. He was never late. He was always there. Coworkers said he was always at work. There was never a call out. There was never a time that he was, too sick, too bothered, too anything. He was always there. And yet
Mm-hmm.
which was very odd. And so they had contacted, his family, and people were starting to worry and starting to look. And by Monday morning, the Cassville police, this is Cassville, Missouri, were on the case. And as they were looking at his missing persons case, they remembered something. On the morning before, Sunday morning, a mile away from the hospital, there's an aquatic center called the Cassville Aquatic Center. And there
Mm-hmm.
had been some kind of a search going on there for a missing child, totally unrelated to this case.
Mm-hmm.
And they had taken record of all of the cars in the parking lot at that time. And there was a black Infiniti in the parking lot. Well, guess what was missing from with Dr. John? A black Infiniti.
The Black Infinity. Oh, okay.
So they headed back over to the aquatic center's parking lot and checked it out, and the Infiniti was indeed Dr. John's. It was very much abandoned with all of his stuff in it. The keys were inside, his passport, wallet, a cracked cell phone, and his laptop.
Wow.
Later, they searched the RV and found 3 more phones. What is
Hmm.
it with these Mormon men and all these burner phones?
I don't know, but we've sure seen a lot of that.
Yeah, and haven't we though? That has just become kind of
Mhm.
a thing you can count on. There was nothing around the car that would indicate foul play. There was no sign of a fight. There was no bodily fluids. There was nothing. They brought dogs in, but the only spot a dog indicated at all was right next to his car, and that was it. So there was surveillance video, but unfortunately it was very, very poor. They did see a black car coming into the parking lot at 7:12 a.m., which would definitely match up to when he left the hospital. But they don't know for sure. They think it was his car. It was followed by a white SUV.
Hmm.
They're saying the video was so bad, they don't absolutely know that was John's car, but they think it was.
Okay.
And that is all they knew.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Oh, bless you.
so a search ensues, and they start talking about him, and friends and family start coming out of the woodwork talking about John, searching for John. And one of his friends comes forward and said, well, something that you should know that you probably don't know, and as it turned out, none of his family knew, he had been abducted a year before by some men who had
What?
kidnapped him, zip tied him, and driven him in their car to a bridge and marched him out onto the bridge and made a bunch of threats. Nobody is entirely sure what the threats were about, but they think it had to do with the crypto business. The crypto business seems to be a bit
Whoa.
cryptic.
Cryptic crypto. Makes sense. Got it. Okay. And
He
he
did
didn't
not
tell anyone about that?
know. Well, one of his friends knew.
Wow.
Apparently, some people knew, but yeah, his family had no idea. This was a complete shock to them.
Oh my gosh.
The friends say that he did not tell the police because he thought he was still in danger and that he would not be safe to report it to the police. Yeah, it's all sus. It's weird.
That's super sus. I mean, why?
Hmm.
That is the first people I would report to if someone abducted me and then let me go. Like,
Right.
wow.
The other thing his family learned that was a complete shock was that he had a fiance that was 8 months pregnant.
Oh boy.
A
Okay.
colleague from the hospital. It sounds like a nurse practitioner from the hospital. His brother even later said in an interview that he and the fiance were getting ready to open some kind of a health clinic in another town.
Really?
Hmm.
But this was had been a big secret too.
Hmm. His
Wow.
sister said, and he is beloved by his family, don't get me wrong, beloved in every way. But his sister said he had buckets and he would kind of put everything in the bucket about his life that he wanted you to know. And that was
Mhm.
all. So it sounds like he was pretty
Mm.
secretive even with his family. Nobody necessarily really knew John Forsyth.
Mhm.
So, as we know, there had just been a divorce finalized, and he and his wife had been ordered to, ex wife had been ordered to divide the Bitcoin holdings. And so the Bitcoin holdings were valued at over $800,000. And then, of course, the child support and alimony was $19,000 a month.
Mhm.
His sister said uh, that he was a good dad and that he was determined to pay his obligations, that he feels like that's, absolutely his responsibility to do.
Mhm. Take care of his children.
Hmm. Uh, Also, the engagement to the colleague happened 3 days before he disappeared.
Oh wow.
This was all happening like at the same time.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, apparently, there's another child. So he had 7 with the first wife. Apparently, there's an 8th child that's kind of up for debate. The family says that there's a possibility he does have another child, but the relationship between their family and the mother of that child has been rough, and they have asked her for a DNA test because they think that that is John's child. And then, of course, The ninth child has, of course, now been born sometime in June, I would imagine. So, yeah,
Wow.
9 kids out there.
Hmm.
So, there's a joint search for John from friends and family and law enforcement and social media everywhere. And people are very scared. I remember first hearing about this case from my sister's mother in law, who apparently knows John or knew John, and at a
Right.
family
Yes.
gathering said, John Forsyth is missing. Nobody knows where he is. And I was like, I don't know who that is, but she did. And anyway, it was,
Hmm.
I mean, it was considerable coverage that his case got, and people were really, really frightened about it. Well, on May 30th, 9 days after he went missing, there were some men kayaking in Beaver Lake in Arkansas, and they saw what they thought was a dead animal floating in the water. And when they got close to it, they realized it was a human person,
Okay.
and it was Dr. John. And he was apparently shot, gunshot wound to the head.
And he was in Arkansas?
Hmm. Not far from Missouri, apparently.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
My geography, once you get out of the West, is not great. So,
Hmm. So the family, I mean, they're treating it as a homicide. There's lots and lots of rumors. They're learning things about John they had no idea about. Like everything is very hard. His one of his
yeah.
sons, at least at the time, lived here in Rexburg. He was at BYU, Idaho. I don't know about
Mm,
the rest of his family, and I'm not trying to out them, of course. But so he had family everywhere, and like it was a terrible thing. They had a private family funeral, and they had a closed casket. And after the funeral, after the burial, they started talking about his death and about what happened and realized that nobody in their family identified the body. So
what?
they went back to the police and said, none of us identified the body. And the one of the officers that had investigated the case said, I did. And they were like, but why didn't we? And he's like, because I did.
But why would he have been able to?
Yeah. Yeah. And they're pretty off put and unsettled by that.
That's
And
weird. I
they,
mean, that would have
yeah,
meant that that officer would have had to have had some kind of prior relationship with him
yeah,
to know
yeah.
who he was, wouldn't it? I mean,
Right. Yeah. So the family's just they're confused and they're worried and they are worried and like his mother had said in an interview it you have to keep your imagination on a short leash because
right?
knowing that his life was so mysterious obviously and that no one identified the body besides law enforcement. His brother said, did we bury a casket full of rocks? Like,
Right.
was
Like
John in there?
that would be a huge question. Like,
Hmm.
are we even sure that is who we buried?
It's weird.
That is so strange.
I'll say also, and obviously, John wasn't really living a traditional Mormon lifestyle, clearly.
Right.
But in the Mormon faith, people have a lot to do with the body.
Hmm.
It's very traditional for family members to help dress the body, to have something to do with them being, take cared for, and then to dress them in temple clothes if they were, an endowed active member of the church. Obviously, none of those things happened, which again, no judgment here, but that none of those things were in play, obviously, because literally nobody in the family saw the body at all
That is
after death.
so strange.
That strikes me as very
And
weird.
maybe they just were trying to save the family from having to see what state he was in, but did
I
they do
wondered.
DNA to make sure? So that's so confusing to me.
And it's true, after being in the water for 9 days, it was probably a very grisly scene.
Well, yeah, very well
But,
could have.
however, the law enforcement officers said they identified him. So how? I mean,
Right.
how did they identify him any better? It's just weird. I'll go there. It's weird. So since then, the his mom says that basically, the police have quit talking to them. They aren't getting any answers at all. I'm referencing an article from uh, Ozarks. It's ky3.com.
Hmm.
And this article was in mid December, and they're still saying there is just nothing. There is no information, nothing new, nothing. Now,
How can
there's
no one know anything? I mean,
they did question the family members. The brother that he owns the business with, the cryptocurrency business with, he was questioned, took a polygraph test. He says he failed the polygraph test, and they took a gun from his home. But that's all we know about that, too.
whoa.
Yeah, he's
But
the
he's
only
also
one.
admitting that publicly? Like,
Yeah, he's done some podcasts and some news interviews and stuff, and he's the one that said it. I don't know what that means, and polygraphs aren't admissible in court anyway, but
right?
so it leaves a lot of questions, a lot of speculation. Was this completely random? Did it have to do with the crypto business? Did it have to do with something else? There was some speculation that there may have been some drug activity. Uh, we don't know that for sure, but there had been some talk along those lines. There, the people that he worked with have many of them have said that he was quite the womanizer, and that RV he had kept in the parking lot of the hospital kept it pretty hopping.
Okay. Well, that kind of makes sense with the,
Hmm.
children with multiple women and the
Yeah,
marriage and divorce and then marriage and divorce. Yeah, I
but
can see that.
still, so was it related to that? Was this the husband of a lover, or they did not feel like it was suicide? That was one thing that had been bandied around a little bit, but nobody felt like that. The
Mhm.
police did not feel like that was the case. They are treating it as a homicide, but there is just nothing.
That
I
is
mean,
a
obviously,
really
someone knows
difficult
something.
situation. Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
definitely. My God, how sad for such a large family. I mean, that's a lot of people to be impacted. All those children impacted by this.
Right, that's 8, maybe 9
Yeah,
kids without a dad.
yeah,
Yep,
that's
there
really,
was an
really sad.
interview in the Independent, with the ex-wife through her attorney. She did not want to be named, but she did say that she is absolutely devastated, that she would have never seen anything like this coming and was just absolutely blown away that any of this had happened.
Sure.
Uh, and we're also his patients. A lot of his patients have spoken about him online and talked about what a great doctor he was and how knowledgeable he was and persistent he was, and that he would, really order the tests nobody else would to get to the bottom of things. And obviously,
Mhm.
he was at the hospital more than he was anywhere else. So, people saw a lot of him. He treated a lot of patients. So it's a huge loss to their community, to the hospital there. And it's just such a confusing one. So we're going to keep a
Wow.
close eye on it. I hope that we'll see some arrests coming at some point, that they have something going. The police are
Right.
saying this is by far not a cold case. We are all over this. Don't worry about it. Like, these things take time, but we aren't, we are not done here. And,
Mhm.
it doesn't seem like the police have just abandoned this case. But I will say that one of the investigators said that this is Detective Privet said, 17 years in this field, and this is one of the strangest cases that I've witnessed and personally been involved in.
Wow.
That seems to be the case for a lot of people that knew Dr. John or thought they knew Dr. John.
Yeah, it's so confusing with
Mhm,
what did or did they not really know about this
mhm.
guy? All of them.
It's something. Yeah. So
Wow.
we'll keep a close eye on it, and if anything changes with it, we will definitely bring you guys current with that and hope that there is an arrest. I hope for the sake of all those kids that they get to
Yeah.
know what happened to their dad. You
Yeah,
know,
I do too. I do too.
I can't imagine the
That's just
anguish.
not fair.
Well, and we just passed through the holidays. This would have been their first Christmas without him, and
Yeah.
it's just not fair. Yeah.
No, it isn't. Boy,
Yeah.
well, okay. We will definitely be keeping an eye on that.
Yeah. Well, with that, I'm going to kick the mic back over to you to hear about somebody that seems to be right at the top of the FOS list these days.
Oh my gosh, you guys. This is Utah Attorney General Sean Reyes. And in the media, he's referred to as General Reyes, which I have never heard our Attorney General in Idaho referred to as General. They're not military, they're attorneys, right?
Hmm.
It's strange. But anyway, that must be a Utah thing. So you may or may not know, but
Is it or is it a him thing? Because doesn't he
maybe,
start like he was a little Lord Farquaad-ish?
yes, very much so. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, he definitely got his head turned by Tim Ballard in a big way. And we've
Mm,
talked about that quite a bit, that he and Tim Ballard were like best buds. And he was involved with the Operation Underground Railroad stuff and actually went on and op, and he's done a
yeah.
bunch of things. Okay. So he is now finding himself in some major hot water in relation to his connection to Tim Ballard.
Yeah.
So several things have happened recently. We've talked about already that he has already said that he will not be seeking re-election, that his term will run out next year at the end of 2025, and that he is
Hmm.
not going to
Hmm.
seek a new term, which I think is a little
At the end of
rich.
2025? So he still has
Yeah,
2 more years in office?
yeah, yeah,
Ugh.
he does.
Oh, okay.
So he recently found himself uh, as a focus of a lawsuit from some of the women that are suing Tim Ballard for sexual assault, along with lots of other things. They're
Hmm.
also suing General Reyes because, or
You
they
did it.
were suing him because it's pretty clear that he's kind of gotten involved in some investigations into Operation Underground Railroad and quashed those investigations early in 2023.
Yeah.
And so, guys, he met with all the victims and he
Ooh.
told them how very, very sorry he is and that he just didn't know that Tim was a bad guy. And they have
Hmm.
dropped their lawsuit against him.
What?
Yeah, I think that's unfortunate because I don't. The thing is, Reyes is not like a squeaky clean guy to begin with as the
Unfortunate and
Utah Attorney General.
extremely inappropriate. What the
Well,
hell?
right. And he's already been under investigation several times for his spending habits and the
Hmm.
things that he has done for like donors and fundraising and stuff that's been inappropriate. And he's been, overstepping his boundaries already,
Yeah.
even before all of this came out. So there have been
Hmm.
some investigations into him.
Sure.
So now there's this, which I think is pretty rich that he thinks he should hang out for the rest of his term after discovering that he's best buds with, Tim Ballard.
Hmm.
But now what's going on is that, and Fox News 13 in Utah, we have to really give them a lot of credit because they have been on this.
Hmm.
They now have proof that Operation Underground Railroad donated somewhere between $950,000 to $1 million, somewhere in there, to the state to fund uh, combating crime against children. So a nonprofit,
Wow.
think about this, a nonprofit
Right.
organization gave $1 million to a state organization.
That is really
That's
odd.
weird. Like, that's
Hmm.
not a thing that usually happens, right? There are 13 thank you letters from Rhea's office to OUR for donations made. So this has been going on for a while. Apparently, the donations
Hmm.
stopped in 2020 because there was some looking into this that occurred, but it is very odd. Here's the other thing that's very odd about it. That money was spread out to law enforcement agencies in the state of Utah, and those agencies were told that the money came from the federal government and that it was to combat crimes against children. So they
What?
lied about where they got the money, gave it to the police. The police used it. Then Reyes reported back to OUR about actual crimes that were combated, things that were done with that money. And
Mhm.
then Operation Underground Railroad started reporting those as part of their things, like taking credit for
Oh, for God's
this
sake.
work, right? And the police, until this investigation was happening with Fox News 13, the police had no idea this was happening. Like the county sheriffs and
Wow.
the county attorneys and stuff, they didn't know that any of that had gone on. So OUR gives money to the state gives it to sheriff's agencies, police in Utah.
Mhm.
Then they use it to combat child crime
Yeah.
against children, and then OUR is taking credit as if they actually are the ones that foiled those crimes.
Holy
How
shit.
totally bonkers, not okay is that? So, everyone's like, holy
Wow.
shit. Now, latest thing, Reyes has formed a task force. They are doing a huge investigation into Operation Underground Railroad. He has recused himself because it would not be appropriate for him to be a part of it.
Well, you think
Now, he already stepped in the middle of the last investigation
Mhm.
that Davis County was doing. Well, he says that his office is still the best, they're the best ones to be doing this investigation into Operation Underground Railroad. And we know that there are multiple
Mm.
counties in Utah, multiple prosecutors doing investigations into Tim Ballard and Operation Underground Railroad right now. And yet the state is saying, yeah, we're going to do our own too. And this isn't inappropriate at all, even though they gave us $1 million. And also,
Mhm.
Attorney General Reyes has been deeply involved with Tim
Yeah.
Ballard and OUR. So it's
Wow.
still sketchy as hell. And I'll tell you, a lot of like county attorneys, prosecutors, sheriffs, not cool with
Mhm.
this. Not cool with this at all. They're very concerned. They're like, why can't one of the organizations at the county level that's already doing these investigations, why can't one of them do the investigation into Operation Underground Railroad? Why does it need to be Reyes's office? Because I got to tell you, I don't believe for 1 second that Reyes is going to keep his hands out of that because he is still covering his own ass by doing this.
Yeah.
And Governor Cox has given it his stamp of approval. Now, you may or may
Wow.
not know that Utah has a long history of being what you call a theocracy. And that means that it's run
Mhm.
more by a religion than it is by government.
Mhm.
And that there's a long history of interference,
Mhm.
uh, related to investigations into members of the Mormon church who
Mhm.
have committed crimes specifically against children.
Yeah.
And so now, in all of this, this is what's happening. It's really, really sketchy. It
Wow.
is still definitely not okay. Reyes needs
No.
to resign, and this investigation should be done by Davis County or one of the other counties that's involved here,
Yeah.
because this still very much looks like Reyes protecting himself.
Yeah.
Because if all of this is out now, what else do we not know?
Right.
What other involvement has he had? We
I mean, they
know,
played pretty loosey-goosey with the money and the rules and the paperwork because they didn't think they'd ever have any scrutiny.
right?
But I'm sure there's plenty more to uncover. But yeah, huge props to the agencies that are
Well,
working so hard to do it.
absolutely. And to the victims that are pushing
Mhm.
hard for this and not allowing this to just get shoved under the rug like it usually
Mhm.
does in
Yep.
Utah. But I'm saddened that the lawsuit against Reyes has been dropped on the part of the victims. They say they're comfortable with the apology. I'm not comfortable with the apology. What the hell,
Why
man?
was he talking to them at all?
Right? Why was he talking to them at all? And what was really said to them and what is really going on here? Because
Mhm.
still, how is this going to benefit Tim Ballard? How is this going to protect Reyes? And we don't want any of those things happening. All of the
Mhm.
truth of this whole situation needs to be revealed,
Yeah.
100% of it, And just when we think we know it all, more stuff comes out,
Mhm.
And I don't know, I was just blown away by the fact that the governor has given his stamp of approval to this.
Mhm.
investigation, and they're saying that there's no conflict of interest because Reyes won't be involved, except, yeah, he will. He's these people's boss. How is
Right.
he not going to be involved?
Oh, no.
They're
He'll
really
be
going to do an
involved.
investigation in which he doesn't know anything about what's going on? Yeah, my ass.
I can't imagine that's true. Wow.
So Utah playing fast and loose with all the rules as usual,
Mm-hmm.
and protecting predatory men.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it comes down to, over and
Absolutely.
over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be keeping our eyes on this. Who knows? Reyes, I don't know.
He obviously knows his goose is cooked,
He's a real
considering that
gladlander.
he has already said he's not going to run. I mean, I know there's people
Well,
calling for his resignation. I've been seeing it on
oh,
Twitter,
yeah.
right and left. Yeah.
Because, see, before all of this broke, before Vice broke this huge story wide open, the
Mm-hmm.
plan was, well, originally, Reyes was considering running for Mitt Romney's Senate seat.
Yeah.
And then he and Tim Ballard cooked up this plan that he was just going to run for Attorney General again, and Tim Ballard was going to run for Mitt Romney's Senate seat.
Yeah.
And now all of this is blown up, and someone
Mm-hmm.
else is running for Mitt Romney's Senate seat. But they
Mm-hmm.
were, not only were they getting away with some serious bullshit, but they were,
Going to get away with
working
a
to,
bunch more. Yeah.
yeah, and to build, an even deeper web of involvement in government.
Yeah.
Which I'm very glad that all of this is blown open, but
Mm-hmm.
my gosh, it's like this well never runs dry.
No.
There's just more and more and more coming out. So we're going to keep a very close eye on this. I'm very pleased with Fox News 13 in Utah, because they are like rabid dogs on this.
Mm-hmm.
Salt Lake Tribune is on it some too. I would
Mm-hmm.
say a little less rabidly. I've watched some videos from Fox 13 that they're like, we will research this and investigate this until we know everything, and we're going to tell the public everything.
Everything. Yeah, they're determined.
Which, if you know anything about the Mormon church, you know that keeping secrets is pretty much the basis of the whole damn religion, and has become the basis of government in Utah. And we're seeing this finally get blown open.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm loving it. I'm loving to see it. I'm loving to see that there are plenty of news outlets and police and prosecutors that are like, we're not fucking around anymore with any of this shit.
Yeah.
We're not doing this anymore. So it's good news.
Yeah.
We will keep an eye on it. We're always here to keep an eye and report, because we want the truth of these situations to be out there in the world as much as humanly possible. We are so done with the secrets being kept and the culture of secrets in Mormonism that ultimately result in the harming of children
and women.
Done. And women. Done with all of it. So I'm sure we'll be back with more stories about Sean Reyes and Tim Ballard, because, man, that story just never ends.
Nope. That is a bottomless well.
And frankly, I really hope that they can find out what happened to Dr. John Forsyth, because
me too.
That's some scary shit right there.
His family definitely deserves some closure and some answers.
Yeah, they really do. They really do. Well, that's it for us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, leave us a review on iTunes and anywhere else that you can. It helps us to grow. Please share our content. That's also much appreciated. We will continue with all of our true crime coverage, as well as Mormon-specific stuff, because we are in a unique situation to be able to do that. And you know it. We are the True Crime Squad. Thanks for being here.
Take care.